Jurassic World Chaos Theory has landed back on our screens for the fourth and final season of the show, and with this being the last one, it truly felt like they had to go out with a bang, and they most certainly did. After 2 shows and several seasons with the same set of characters, it was time to put their story to rest, and I think the show did it in a solid way. Focused on themes of how togetherness is what ultimately saves the day and that past actions don't always define you. Let's dive into this fatal and fiery final season and discuss all that there was to take away from it. Here is Jurassic World Chaos Theory Season 4 Ending Explained. Just to let you know, this video will contain spoilers. The Ending Explained. When it came to the ending of Season 4, there were a few different core stories that were taking place. First off, we had the group wanting to reunite Smoothie with Bumpy whilst also rescuing Bumpy from the testing facility that she was being kept in. Secondly, they wanted to stop Biosyn from creating and training these assassin dinosaurs from the moment that they got their hands on them. And thirdly, they needed to escape from Biosyn due to it being destroyed by the giant flaming locusts. Well, the first thing that we saw was that Bumpy and Smoothie were reunited with each other, and Kenji had to bid farewell to his boy in an emotional way. When the dinosaurs were being evacuated from the flaming Biosyn Valley, Smoothie's father was actually introduced to us there too, as he intervened and stopped Smoothie from becoming dino food. This essentially rounded off Bumpy's arc in a nice natural way, and with her being reunited with Smoothie and Smoothie's father, that sense of freedom to roam all together as one and like a family not only tied into the core theme of togetherness, but it meant that they could all be happy as one. When it came to the rest of the group, Brooklyn felt as though the entire group were in the mess that they were in because of the way that she acted in the past, and there was a sense of guilt that was within her. This is why when the group were being attacked and it felt like there was no stopping it or no way out, she jumped on the car and made herself a target. She did it because she simply wanted to make things right. This led Ben to intervene and stop the dinos from attacking her, but in that process, he was wounded by the Thagomizer, and he was then on the cusp of death for the remainder of the season. This happened in episode 6, so there was even more jeopardy added to the remainder of the story. We were being led to believe that Ben was going to die because his condition was slowly deteriorating as the group were overcoming obstacles and trying to find a way out. No matter how injured Ben was, he was putting the safety of others over himself, such as Bumpy and also Kenji when he was facing off against the Dilophosaurus. The power kept going out, which was delaying Ben getting care, and it ultimately climaxed in the courtyard with the group looking for a heli to get out of there. I thought Ben was actually going to die at this point because he was getting delirious with what he was saying and he was seeing all of these stars around him, almost implying like he was entering the afterlife. In fact, the final thing that we heard in episode 8 was him exhaling, which I interpreted as his last breath. However, as we saw with the helicopter being taken, it meant that they had to get Gia's car instead and navigate their way around the likes of the T-Rexes in battle and a Gigantosaur. They made the last helicopter that was about to leave because the workers thought that the evacuation was complete, and it was from there where Ben finally got the care that he needed. At this point, we didn't know if he'd survive or not, but with the group in tears, we were led to believe that he might well die. Once Ben was taken away, they overheard staff saying how there were wounded dinosaurs that needed tending to that were still in Biosyn Valley, and it piqued Darius's ears. With him being a dino nerd, him and the others walked over to help with caring for them. Once this scene concluded, there was a flash forward in time to the group setting up a dinner, and Ben was the only person that wasn't in attendance. His hat was even laid on the table, which made me think that he'd died and it was there in memory of him. Darius had just got back from Biosyn and had video footage of Smoothie looking bigger and happy with the freedom that they had. Sammy and Val were back together as they realized that they truly loved each other. And Brooklyn was repairing her relationship with her fathers and came to the conclusion that she wasn't going to run away again. This whole experience made Brooklyn realize that being with the people that she loved most and cared for brought her the happiness and grounding that she needed in her life. Her hair wasn't blue anymore either, which to me symbolized change and growth in the character. She was no longer that person that was running away and betrayed her friends. She'd grown up. When the group went and sat down for the meal, Ben then got out of the car and we saw that he actually survived the injury, although he did end up dying for a brief moment on the table but was brought back to life. This was then when the show concluded. It concluded with them sharing their meal and all laughing together, really reinforcing that message of how the group was stronger together and the care that they had was what gave them the most strength. Even though there have been some theories going around that there could be another season with these characters, I don't think there will be. This felt like the perfect way to wrap up their story, with all of the characters being happy together, letting go of the past and forgiving one another for their past mistakes. Biosyn was also undergoing a rebuild, and it looked like the values of the company had changed, so it was a better place to be and wasn't carrying out the awful experiments on the dinosaurs anymore. If the show does come back, I think it will most likely be with new characters and a new story. The world is so large and there's a countless amount of possibilities that they could go through. My review of the show. I thought this was a pretty good season of the show. Do I think it was the best? Personally, I don't. I was a massive fan of the Hanther, and with her being killed at the end of the previous season, I do feel like that villain type role was missing throughout these 9 episodes. I understand that the group were constantly evading dinosaurs, but I like the haunting, creepy, and menacing nature that the Handler had, so it's a shame that there wasn't a character like that this time. I also thought the episodes felt a little bit repetitive. It was a bit like the group would go somewhere, there'd be an obstacle, they'd overcome it, and then it would happen again. It happened when they were inside the vet facility, it happened when the car was up in the tree, and it happened right at the end. So it did get a little bit predictable. What I will say though is this season had the most menacing dino of them all. The one which essentially looked blind but had those really sharp claws and the high-pitched shriek. It was absolutely petrifying, but I loved it. The design was really cool and they got across the nightmare-inducing nature of it. The way that it just emerged from the flames and then just went after the group was simply perfect, and it was a great way of introducing it. Now, I know this wouldn't have made a happy ending, but personally, I would have had Ben get killed during the season. I thought it was building towards an emotional ending for them and it being quite a bitter end to the tale. The message of them all finding togetherness, but it coming at the cost of them essentially losing the strongest one of them all, and the one that was fighting to keep them together. However, sadly that didn't happen. I did think it added good jeopardy to the story though, because I feel like I didn't truly know if he was going to survive or not, and the struggle that he had was something that I felt like I could feel every time he screamed in pain. Another story arc that I also quite liked was the one that Brooklyn had. I enjoyed seeing her development and the guilt that she was riddled with, and feeling like the group being in that situation that they were in was all because of her. To be fair, Ben being on death's door was pretty much because of her too, so seeing the pain that she was in and her wanting to do right by everyone was easy to connect to, and it made the character feel just that little bit more relatable. I thought some of the dino scenes were also really strong in this season. They captured the essence and behaviour of them really well, and it transcended the screen. I didn't look at it and feel like it was just these animated characters, but for some of them, I'd look at them with fear because they do just look so frightening. Did this season end in the best way possible? Outside of Ben not dying, I reckon it did. The core theme was at the heart of this show, and even if this story doesn't get picked up again with this set of characters, it seemed like they were all in a good place with each other and progressing forward in trying to become better people, together. So it worked well. So, there you have it, Jurassic World Chaos Theory Season 4 Ending Explained.